Hey all you mothers and fathers, I'm Dale Rodman Jr. III, and this is Slow to Pro, a YouTube series where I go from slow to Snetterton for race number 3 of 10 for Zealous Racing League's Galaxy Tour. We got a 1-hour race with 2 mandatory pit stops for tires and no refueling. We're starting in P20 out of 24 in the GT3 class. And here we go. If you saw last week's race, you'll know we're all being a little careful headed into the first few turns. We're definitely not looking for a repeat of last week, as exciting as that was. So we come into turn 1, and I stay a little wide. I just assumed that someone was on the inside, even though there wasn't. The green Aston ahead of me starts to make me a little nervous when he gets halfway off the circuit here, but he's able to maintain control and get his car through turn 1. Unfortunately for him, there's another Aston waiting at the exit, and he just bricks it. The white Bentley on the right makes a quick rejoin reminiscent of last week's race at Imola, and he immediately rejoins the pack behind us and starts working on getting back up front where he belongs. So as we come to the straight, I saw him take a shot at the inside, and I knew he was going to make a move on the next turn, and I'm going to let him. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight. And if you'll notice here, the Ferrari starts to peek up the inside, and I was expecting that yellow Ferrari to hold his line, so I stayed wide, but he was actually wise enough to not trust me. I still stayed wide. But I know the gentleman driving that yellow Ferrari could probably pass me even if that yellow Ferrari were a yellow school bus. So I've already planned out in my head to let him pass me on the straight, because I'm sure he's going to get a better exit through this turn anyway. And he does, so I don't have to lift very much on the throttle to make his pass comfortable for both of us. We're able to get right back behind him and continue on, not really have to lose much time on our lap. And that's really the name of the game with these mixed class races. It's not rushing every move, but instead working with the traffic around you to minimize the time loss for both cars involved. Especially when you start coming up on the GT4 lap traffic. But the same thing applies when you're being passed by someone faster as well, even in the same class. The longer you fight, the slower you both go, which allows others to potentially catch up. Better to lose half a second on one lap than 3/10 a lap or more on a 3-lap battle, I think. So we've survived lap 1 without sliding out, kept the car under control, and didn't really have any close calls other than the incident through the exit of turn 2. We've even still got some traffic in front of us. It's looking like a race is about to happen. But while we wait to get to some action, if you're not subscribed, please consider it. To those of you that are, thank you. We just hit 70, but I screenshotted it at 69 because I have a childlike sense of humor. But seriously, thank you guys. I'm just trying to have some fun, and I hope you are too. Having fun, not trying to have it. But let's go ahead and skip ahead. The yellow Ferrari makes his way past the black Audi, and then I'm able to close the gap in the final 2 turns. And I watched a video for like, I don't know, the 7th time before this race from Eris, one of the developers of the game, on how to follow another car. Specifically helpful was the information about modulating the brake pedal to brake earlier and then gradually close the gap through the turn, almost like reverse trail braking. I'll leave a link to the video in the description. It's really solid stuff. So I tried to do it in turn 1, but it's my first time, so I went a little early, and I was able to close the gap headed into turn 2. Then I did a much better job with the brake modulation and was able to get right up on the bumper of Mr. Audi. Unfortunately, I don't handle the next turn as well as I need to. I end up coming a little bit tight onto the entry and apex a little too early. So he's able to get a much better exit and carry a lot more speed through the exit of the turn, which makes me start to freak out a little bit. So I end up coming a little hotter than I usually do. I use a little bit more exit curb on this turn than I usually do. It was still safe, but I carried that same idea into this turn, and I tried to use the full exit curb, and yeah. At least I didn't hit the wall. Let's go ahead and skip to my first position battle. The gentleman in the Porsche makes an aggressive pass on the GT4, which inspires me to do the same. Kind of like peer pressure. I didn't want to do that, but I did it. It felt reckless, but it worked out. But no victim, no crime. At this point, we are headed into the most challenging turn on the circuit, and I'm just really hoping this Porsche doesn't start on its spin cycle in the middle of the track. make it through the first section, second section. Porsche gets a little buck wild. Luckily, I'm a super genius, and I was smart enough to not be stupid. Just took a second off the throttle, cut back inside there to avoid that. That was close. And the Porsche is still up to his antics and turning me into a bad apple right along with him. We both go dangerously up the inside of more GT4 traffic into the final turn, and I'm pretty sure the Porsche spots a butterfly on the left side, goes to inspect it, and free position. Thank you. Let's go ahead and skip way ahead to the beauty of multi-class racing. After being turned into a bad apple by that Porsche earlier, I felt safe about going at the inside of GT4 traffic on the long sweeper headed into the final turn, so we're going to go ahead and do that here. And it turns out to be a safe move thanks to the cooperation of the GT4 car, and I came upon the next car a little faster than I anticipated. Almost lost the front end there, but was able to regain control for the final turn and didn't lose too much speed, so we're able to stay at least within a grasp of that other GT3 McLaren in front of us here as we go by this blue Camaro. And here's where I have to refocus on that brake modulation to close the gap safely. And I also have to be considerate of the fact that we're still working through some GT4 lap traffic, so the braking points might be even earlier. So far so good. We're gonna stick tight on the inside of this GT4 car. And we're still keeping within spitting distance of the McLaren. That's what it's all about. This was probably some of the most fun that I've had racing so far, is trying to battle for a position, or at least stay within battle distance of a position while working through traffic. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to a lesson on how to properly make a mistake. Yep, that's correct. There is a right way and a wrong way to make a mistake. In situations where you realize you're coming in a little too hot on another car, it's always best to fight your instinct to try to make the turn. You're going to end up in a multi-car wreck.
Sorry, man.
Instead, make your mistake to the outside of the turn. You'll go off track, yes, but at least you won't ruin someone else's night as well. Also, take your time rejoining. You already made one mistake. Let's not make it two. And we're going to go ahead and skip ahead now to right around 20 minutes remaining in the race. We've just finished our second mandatory pit stop for tires, and we are right behind that McLaren that I almost ass blasted earlier. Admittedly, during this fast section, he made a mistake and went off track. I passed him, and then I missed my pit box and had to reverse. And he didn't miss his pit box, and that regained him the position on me. A good lesson to take away from this is that if you make a mistake and you quit, you're a loser, nobody likes you. And if you make a mistake and you don't quit, you can still regain some positions and have some good battles and maybe have some fun. I'll speed this up too, but less dramatically, because we just follow the McLaren around until he becomes another victim in the long list of victims to Snetterton. Unfortunate. I was hoping for a battle, but old Snetty got himself another one. And if we cut ahead to the next battle, I was being patient with the GT4 cars that were currently battling for position. I thought it might be rude to get between them and, interrupt their battle. But then this wisecracker in the Audi shoots up inside me and we go 2x2 through the turn, and it's on. And I still wanted to be patient. I knew there was the long straight coming up. I'd be able to pass both GT4 cars, so I wait, and I take a good exit. And at this point, we ended up following this Audi for a little more than 2 laps, right up until old Snetty gets himself another victim. We're keeping it really tight through the slow bender, just trying to stay in his mind, hoping for an error or a window of opportunity. And voila, old Snetty provides to those who wait. So that's it for the action from Snetterton. We went on to finish 17th out of 24 in our class after starting 20th, so not bad. Leaves us sitting in a 3-way tie for 18th in the championship. Again, I'm shooting for as close to that top 10 as possible. Will I get to the 10th? Probably not, but I'm shooting for it. Next week we will be at the parking lot Paul Ricard, and I'm already having nightmares about the 3rd sector. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching Slow to Pro. I'm Dale Robbins Jr. III, and you guys have the kind of day you want to have.